Hey, so you're working on the Coulomb's law practice, and as you work on it, there are a few skill sets that you need in order to be successful. One of those is doing conversions. So the first part of this assignment is really thinking about how to do conversions. And for many of you, you've already done this. Think about that first work we did around how much time you spend on maybe brushing your teeth or making lunch. Think about that we did a calculation in a month or a year. And so this is the same thing. We're just applying it in a different space. Okay, so in this case, you're looking at what it takes to make different amounts of pound cake. And pound cake's a really interesting recipe because pound cake literally has the word pound in it, which is a way to measure something. And so this has to do with the fact that there are 1 pound or is 1 pound of every major ingredient in the cake. So 1 pound of butter, 1 pound of flour, 1 pound of eggs, 1 pound of sugar. But most of us in our kitchens don't measure things by the pound. Generally, we use measuring utensils. So we're gonna convert our pound cake into things that are a little bit easier for us to use if we were to do this in our own spaces. So for the first one, I want you to think about if you were to make the biggest, giantest pound cake. Let's make it like 4 times the size of a normal pound cake. And so what we want is we want to be able to convert it into like teaspoons and cups to make it easy for us to actually be able to make this cake, because I don't really measure things in pounds in my kitchen, right? And so that's what we're gonna do. So I have it started for you here. You can click anywhere in here and make edits. So go ahead and take a look. So because we're making it 4 times the size, we're gonna put a 4 in the front, right? And then just like we said, for every 1 pound cake, there is going to be 1 pound of butter, because we're looking at butter right now. And because we started with pound cake here, we're gonna put the next pound cake at the bottom so they can cancel. And then because we put butter on top, we're gonna put a pound of butter on the bottom on the next one. And if you look here, 1 pound of butter is 32 tablespoons. So that's where that 32 tablespoons is coming from. And so now all we need to do is cross off anything that we can cancel and then solve it. So pound cake can go away. Pound of butter can go away. And so what we're left with is tablespoons and all the numbers. So we're gonna put the numbers together. 4 times 1 times 32, all over 1 times 1, oops. And then that's gonna be tablespoons. Capital T is also another way to shorthand tablespoons, butter. And so you are gonna go ahead and put that into the calculator and get a number, because if you were making this in your kitchen, you wouldn't go and say, I'm gonna use 4 times 1 times 32 divided by 1 times 1 tablespoons, right? You would use a single number. So go ahead and figure out how many tablespoons you would need, right? And so that is how you're gonna solve that, tablespoons of butter, right? So that's the first one. As you go through them, they give you more space for you to practice setting up how to do this, right? So notice that the next one has a question mark for you to start filling it in. So let's take a look at it. So we're gonna do flour. It's still 4 times. We're still looking at that same pound cake. So for that one, we have 1 pound of flour for 1 pound cake, right? Because it's still a pound cake. And then if we look up here, it says 1 pound of flour is 3.6 cups. So we are gonna go ahead and put that on there. So 1 pound of flour is 3.6 cups. Perfect, okay? And so now we're gonna go through and do the same thing. We're gonna cross off anything we can. So here's pound cake, and here's pound of flour and pound of flour. So now all we need to do is combine all the numbers together. So 4 times 1 times 3.6. oops, all over, that's a point, there we go, 1 times 1. And the same thing here, right? This is cups of flour. And I would not go into somebody's kitchen and tell them this random number, right? I wouldn't say, can you get 4 times 1 times 3.6 divided by 1 times 1 cups of flour? I would give them an actual number. So go ahead and figure out what that number is so that you know how much you would need. Okay. And so the way that you work your way through this, right? The eggs one has a few more question marks for you, so you can practice filling that in. You're welcome to pause the video and try it out yourself and then come back to it. Now, as we look at it, we still have 4 times, so we still have the 4 in front. Now, we're making a pound cake and I want my pound cake part to cancel. So that means that right here, that means that this should say 1 pound cake. Oop, I'm gonna run out of space. We're just gonna expand this and that's okay. So I know there's a question mark there, so I'm just gonna make it here now, just so that we can kind of make it a little bit bigger. So my pound cake would cancel. My 1 pound of eggs is on top right now. So I'm gonna put 1 pound of eggs over here. We don't usually measure eggs in pounds, right? We measure them by the number of eggs. It's kind of weird to measure it in pounds. So if I go up here, it says 1 pound of eggs is 10 small medium eggs. So I'm gonna put 10 eggs. If you wanna rate small medium, please do. I am gonna shorthand it just a little bit. And then that means I can now solve it. So we can go ahead and cross off pound cake, pound cake, pound of eggs, pound of eggs. And so we're left with our numbers and just eggs. So 4 times 1 times 10, all over 1 times 1 eggs. And same thing, right? I want to give whoever's baking the actual number of eggs. I don't want to tell them some math problem, right? So you want to actually solve it. Okay. And then go ahead and pause it and see if you can resolve the one for sugar, and then come here to clarify your answer. So for sugar, we're still making 4 times. So I'm gonna do 4 times a pound cake because we're making one that's 4 times as big. I'll make this a better 4. And so that means that when I set this up, I'm gonna put pound cake on the bottom. And there's 1 pound cake. And if I'm talking about sugar, I'm gonna put 1 pound of sugar on top. And then if I look here, it says 1 pound of sugar is 2.25 cups. So same thing, 1 pound of sugar. So I'm gonna put that sugar now at the bottom. And then 2.25 cups at the top. Okay, go ahead and cancel what you need to cancel and solve it. So pound cake, cross off. Pound of sugar, cross off. And then we have 4 times 1 times 2.25 all over 1 times 1 cups of sugar. All right, and then you're gonna go ahead and solve that as well. Okay, and so that is how you would go about solving it. You are going to do the same steps for question 2, okay? You're gonna follow the same kind of idea and the same format for that. So if you take a look, it's just for a really small one. So instead of making a really, really big one, We're gonna make a really, really, really tiny one so that we can make the smallest pound cake you've ever made, right? So go ahead and you're going to do that same thing for this section down here. Okay, once you get to 3, you are going to make your own pound cake. Maybe you want to make one that's ginormous, maybe like 1,000 sizes bigger, right? Maybe you want to make one that's like teeny, 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 tiny. Maybe like 1/100th of the size, right? That's up to you. And then go ahead and figure out how much butter, flour, eggs, and sugar you would need for your pound cake. Okay, and set up your equations so that you can kind of work your way through them. Okay, so that's the first part. Go ahead and take a look at the second video to see how to do the second section.